All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe Imbriano. Let's give it a moment here. Make sure we have a transmission, all right? And hopefully we've dealt with this problem with the audio, okay? Looks like we're up. All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the face of this amazing plane that God has placed us on, and under the amazing firmament that the handiwork of the Almighty has installed above us that separate the waters above from the waters below, that inside contain the planetary bodies that move through the heavens and house the host of heaven on the ceiling, as well as provide for his creation and his created beings here below. This is your host, Joe Imbriano, the Fullerton Informer, coming to you live on this Friday, October 7th, from the busted up streets of Fullerton, California. Under a hazy morning here in Southern California, it's about 68 degrees. A little bit of fog and marine layer burning off and combining with the oxides of nitrogen, creating a photochemical reaction that gives us what a lot of people like to refer to as a little smog, right? So here we are, folks, and I'm hoping that we have solved the sound problem. I have this phone holder that goes on the windshield, and it didn't have any padding in it, so hopefully this will be a lot better. And I wanted to continue to talk to you about this alien nonsense because, you know, I spoke about it yesterday, and I know it was hard to listen to. I think there's probably been about 10 or 11,000 views on the video since yesterday. But it was hard to listen to. So today I wanted to come at you with a better audio and maybe a smoother delivery so we can kind of get into this, because this is a very big topic. It's a topic because, number one, when you look at the lengths that the deniers of Jesus Christ have gone to brainwash into believing all this outer space stuff, okay? And when you look at all of our tax money, by the way, folks, is this sound quality being impacted right now by these roads? Can I see a yes or no? Are you hearing that noise, or is everything okay? It's very bumpy. Is the sound quality okay right now? Can I get a confirmation on the sound quality? Is it being impacted? All right, good. So it sounds like a little washcloth for padding solved the problem in my phone holder, all right? Folks, you don't need a lot to do a lot. Okay. Just a little ingenuity and some common sense, right? But we also need communication so we can make informed decisions. Like, when you're telling me you can't hear me because of all the sound, it's like, okay. Because honestly, I don't go back and watch these videos. I move on because, I put stuff out, and, if there's a problem, then thank you for telling me about it. So we've had, generations of this outer space travel, alien garbage from the deniers of Jesus Christ and all of their mind control, satanic inversion, God hating, the existence of God denying, Jesus hating filth, right? And, none other than if you drive to Hollywood and you see this place called Universal Studios. The last time I was there, my wife's company had this function, like some sort of a company picnic, right? And they chose Universal Studios to do it at. And it was nothing more, you get there and there's the globe earth, right? There's the symbol of the allegiance to the cabal, the symbol of the deception, the symbol of whose side you're on, the symbol of the ultimate lie, right? And the whole place was nothing but a Harry Potter castle, selling sorcerer's wands and all this Harry Potter stuff. It was disgusting. And the way they had the people herded around in there, just like a bunch of cattle on a livestock farm. Total human cattle operation, right? What was frightening is when I got to the top of the escalator to part of this place, you could see all the studios, Warner Brothers, where they literally have mind-controlled and satanized the world for their evil, filthy boss, the devil, right? That's what they did over there. Now they're just turning it into an amusement park. Okay, so the alien nonsense, here we go, folks. So last night, I always tune in to the Chupacabra flying saucer necromancy moron George Norrie. And last night he had the circus clown Steve Quayle on there, the fake Christian, who spins all these yarns about, all this crazy stuff. And he even started going a little too far, talking about the size of the fallen angel's implement not being able to fit into the equipment of the female, right? And George Norrie even had to tell him, hey, whoa, be careful. But they were pushing the alien crap hard last night, folks. And they were pushing the fallen angel and the Nephilim and the Raphaim and all that stuff. And you need to understand something, folks. The spin cycle of subversion has been at work for a very long time, conditioning all of us into believing that there are other worlds out there that we can travel to, and there are other worlds out there that things can visit us from. And in doing this, in spinning this yarn, they have created an amazing system by which they can literally scare the living daylights out of us if they fake an alien invasion. Because people are going to freak out. They've got this Project Bluebeam, they've got all these holograms, they've got all these weapons, and, they've got all this conditioning and mind control with, Star Trek and Star Wars, and, the Twilight Zone was all full of the alien, narrative. I mean, they've been soaking us in it for a long time. The fact is, we cannot escape the system that we're in. We live in a closed system, ladies and gentlemen. And the Bible is a flat earth book from cover to cover, all right? Whether you look at the Hebrew or the Greek, all the words that describe what we live on describe it as immovable, on pillars, the disc, in the shape of what was called a compass, the firmament. The word used for the firmament is rakia. Yes, a solid structure supporting waters above it, right? I mean, folks, come on. So science cannot coexist with Christianity because science teaches us that the sun is this massive star, I don't know how many hundreds of millions of miles away. And, everything revolves around this gas ball. And that we're spinning around and that we came from this explosion of things coalescing and cooling and rotating. And, out came, an Audi SUV, a beautiful blonde, a Super Cray computer, and a bluefin tuna with a side of rice, right? All that just came into being all on its own, right? Because after all, evolution makes everything. You can find a Swiss watch at the junkyard after the tornado rips through it, right? And it's on time. Precision engineering from a random series of chaotic events, right? And never mind entropy, which states that the natural order of things is a state of disorder. Just ask your teenager about their room and why it's a mess, right? You'd think nobody's been in there cleaning it for 6 months if you have a teenager, right? With their clothes piled up all over the place. You get my point, folks. Everything's a lie. There are no aliens, ladies and gentlemen. It's the military abducting people with these advanced technology aircraft, these hovercraft, this system of transportation that they have, these levitation machines. You know, there's a guy, speaking of levitation, there's a guy who built his own castle in Scotland, I think. Forget the guy's name. But, you know, he used the same size blocks as they used in the pyramids, right? Levitation's real, folks. How do you think they built the pyramids, right? And, you know, these advanced technologies, like the ones they use to dustify the trade centers, you know, the World Trade Centers, how they turned the steel I-beam into pixie dust. They have these technologies that can do a lot of things, folks. They have technology that makes you believe lies. They have technology that makes you repeat lies after you believe them, called television and movies, animation, music, right? Cartoons. They have comic books, right? They have every level of indoctrination to lay the foundation of lies so that eventually they can erect this monolithic nightmare that is going to come down on humanity so hard it's not going to know what hit it. And that is the fake alien invasion. And that is the fake alien virus. And that is the fake everything associated with this outer space life form crap. Remember that movie, The Andromeda Strain? Remember that? Well, they have stuff that, you know, they have stuff in these movies that says, oh, the satellite got contaminated and the satellite came crashing to Earth when there aren't even any satellites to begin with. Oh my gosh, this guy's got a mask on in his car, driving around with his windows up. You know, is this thing over yet? By the way, the only people I see wearing masks are the kidnappers and the murderers and the robbers. Is this guy a criminal? Maybe he is. Maybe the police should start arresting everyone with a mask. They should pull over anyone with a mask, search the car, because technically that's a probable cause, because they're hiding their identity. By the way, I had a good friend of mine a couple of years ago during this thing. I hate to get sidetracked, but I might as well bring this up. This guy was standing right next to me, and when I was looking at some steaks in the meat section at the grocery outlet in Fullerton, this guy was standing right next to me. I kind of glanced over, because I always glance over to make sure no one's got a knife in their hand. Make sure, yeah, I'm always aware of my surroundings. That's why I'm always looking at my mirrors, right? Making sure nobody's coming after me. I'm not paranoid, folks. I just use common sense. You got to be aware of your surroundings. This guy had a mask on, and I couldn't even recognize him. And it turned out he's one of my good friends. You know, so it's like you can't identify anybody with a mask. So just keep letting people wear these things. And when they break into your house with their buddies with a couple of Saturday night specials and zip ties, then I guess they'll get prosecuted because they can't be identified, right? Yeah, you're dreaming. There's so many criminals that are on the streets. But the point is, folks, this whole alien thing, it's coming, okay? And these clowns like George Norrie, and he's a clown, folks. I won't even give him the decency of any respect, because the guy is a blender of literal BS. I mean, George Norrie's like an old blender that you just dump a bunch of crap in and push the chop cycle on, and he just mixes up all kinds of crap. And he's got the circus clown circuit on there. He's got these guys on there, pushing the aliens, pushing Planet, pushing NASA, pushing Meteor, pushing Asteroid. I mean, did you see that footage? Did you see that footage of that supposed rocket that supposedly sent something to an asteroid somewhere? Are you kidding me? Do you believe this kind of stuff? I mean, are you that infantile and stupid that you actually think that's real? I mean, for crying out loud, it's... all right, look. Okay, it's bad. The schools, they've really done it. And, you know, it's sad because these young children, they think they're so smart if they memorize all these lies. And then these people that work for the school district, they think they're so important because they're part of this fraud, and they don't realize, or maybe they do realize that they're part of this fraud, and that's why their trash cans are literally full of beer bottles when the trash truck comes by. Everybody I know that works for the school district is a drunk, okay? They're pathetic because they're part of a system that is destroying everything, okay? And you can lay the blame, by and large, at the feet of the school district and its employees for what has been done to society. Because the schools teach us the fraud of allopathic medicine. They teach us the fraud of all of this epidemiology. They teach us the fraud of all this allopathic petrochemical pill pushing, poisoning operation. They teach us the fraud of all of this outer space equations and propulsion and theoretical physics and all of these theoretical studies that are accepted as fact by young, impressionable, innocent children that turn out to be weaponized, arrogant a-holes working for the deniers of Jesus Christ in different parts of the matrix as they further enslave and destroy God's people, God's plan, and God's world as they work for the devil. Some of them know it. That's why they dope themselves and drug themselves and drink themselves to sleep, because they can't deal with what they're doing. But that doesn't change the facts of what they're doing, folks. And so you're going to see a lot more propaganda involving the space narrative, the outer space narrative, right? I mean, honestly, I'm going to be honest with you, folks. I've never believed in that kind of crap because, instinctively, I've always known that the higher up you get, the thinner the air gets, and that it's not going to be possible to move anything if there's nothing to push against, right? Unless you have some sort of levitation system. But even that's going to hit the ceiling up there. I don't know. I think the firmament's probably about 80 miles up. I don't think it's that high because I've been places where it looks like you could touch the thing. And I know people that have been to very high mountain peaks and they say it looks really close. And they know that this thing ain't moving. The North Star just manages to follow us everywhere we fly through, right? It's amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, what are the ramifications of the fake alien invasion and the fake alien virus? Well, when there is a threat that is from out of this world, literally, that people perceive as from being out of this world and totally unknown and totally unmanageable, just think of the epidemiological implications of an invasion of some pathogen from another world, right? Can you think of the societal implications of such a thing being alleged? Well, I'll be honest with you, folks. When I drive around in my car, whether I'm going shopping or going someplace, whether to work or whatever errand I'm running, the alien technology that I see around me are the cell towers, because those are the weapons. And those are, oh my gosh, they totally decriminalized prostitution. And you got these hookers walking up and down Beach Boulevard. It's disgusting. You make me sick. I cannot believe it. Right next to some porno joint, right? Some bunch of filthy trash everywhere, liquor stores, and it's terrible what they've done. Bunch of jonesed out dudes on fentanyl, bunch of zombies all jacked up on meth and fentanyl and oxys, hookers walking around graffiti. What have they done to this country? Why? Well, they've invaded it with an alien ideology called secular humanism. And Trotskyite operatives in the government pushing Marxism, right? And they just collapse everything. Well, back to the aliens, folks. back to the aliens that don't exist. When you think about the ramifications of a fake alien virus, right, or a fake alien bacteria, or a fake alien invasion, people are going to lose their lunch, okay? And guess what happens when people freak out from a trauma, from a fear factor on steroids, from a trauma-based mind control manipulation, a trauma-based mind control event? Folks, they go into shock. Their critical thinking skills shut down. Their defenses are gone. And they're extremely vulnerable to being manipulated, coerced, or even worse, okay? Subjugated and exterminated. You know, I used to travel into Mexico when I was younger. I had this piece of junk Datsun pickup with a piece of junk boat. I think I paid $500 for this boat. It had a 10 horsepower Mercury on it, and it was a wooden fiberglass boat about 15 feet long, and I used to take this thing into Ensenada. And I remember driving down Ensenada one night about 1 in the morning, and there was an accident off the side of the road. And going south into Ensenada, the road's at the bottom, and coming north, the road's at the top. And a car with a couple of young girls in it had veered off the road on the top, ended up on the bottom, and got broadsided by this big old 1968 Ford F-150 with I-beam suspension. The thing was a tank, right? And the girl in the driver's seat, her head was half severed and she was dead. The girl in the passenger seat was bleeding like profusely, right? And all these people had stopped and were just in shock, and no one was doing anything, right? And so I'm like, what the heck? You know, so I immediately ran to a Mexican call box, which I found about 20 yards away, and I started screaming into this thing to get. But my point is when people are faced with an event like that, they freeze and they go into shock, and their instincts are not what they should be. And so that's the kind of thing they're going to pull on us, folks. That's what they did with Pearl Harbor. That's what got us into the war. That's what they did on 9/11. That's what they did to get us into the war. That's what they're going to do to a couple of cities in the United States pretty soon with a dustification weapon. And that's what they're going to use to get us into the war. And, you know, they could use the same alien virus narrative so they can get us into the war on the virus, and that will involve another vaccine. So there you have it, folks. Now, the fact that the Earth is not a spinning ball has a lot of implications. Now, number one, the spinning ball Earth nonsense, what's known as heliocentrism, where the sun is supposedly the center of everything, where everything revolves around this gas ball. And by the way, the sun and the moon are the same size and the same distance from the Earth. Okay? Let me repeat that. The sun and the moon are the same size, and they are the same distance from where we are. And they are inside the firmament. My best guess is the sun is some sort of lens, okay, based on how it behaves and what comes out of it behaves. You know, I mean, it ain't some gas ball, folks. I mean, you know, they can show you all the pictures they want, but I believe it's some sort of a lens. And I know that the moon is the lesser light and the sun is the greater light. And, you know, they operate according to the principles God has ordained. You know, they can come up with all this quantum mechanic, Newtonian, whatever. Folks, it's all theoretical. I know what I see with my eyes. Water is always seeking its own level. Okay, this thing ain't moving, and the stuff moves around on the top of us, kind of like, inside one of those snow globes, right, where the roof turns. You ever been to Laserium? I remember my neighbors, they used to smoke all kinds of dope and go see Laserium, right? They used to stare at the ceiling. Start staring at the ceiling at night, and you'll start understanding what you're seeing there, okay? All right, so, you know, the flat Earth, you know, I don't even want to use that word because that's another term that's been co-opted by, the CIA, Operation Mockingbird, denier of Jesus Christ serving, Masonic human cattle, Christ-denying scum. What they like to do they like to pigeonhole people that have a certain persuasion or a certain understanding of religion. So, I like to call them the globe tards, right? They believe this stupid thing that's on the teacher's desk when they're. I remember in kindergarten they had the globe right then. The pretty lady came in pushing the fluoride toothpaste when I was in kindergarten. I couldn't believe it. Looking back, I couldn't believe what they were doing. Innocent children being, fluoride pushed on us, right? So this globe Earth hoax, they do a lot of stuff with that. They get to hide God because if everybody knew they lived in a closed system with a roof on it, everybody would know, number one, somebody put the roof on it. And number two, somebody put us inside, okay? But they get to steal that away from us with this lie, with this globe-tard crap, right? So they get to hide the existence of God. Then they get to say that, oh yeah, there were all these explosions and there's all these balls spinning around out there with a bunch of stuff growing on it, right? Okay. And that, there's life everywhere. And the Vatican says that, Jesus died for the aliens. And they have this telescope called Lucifer, right? If it's not bad enough that they're totally a reptilian pedophilic scum operation. I mean, just Google the Fullerton Informer, the Union of the Snake, okay? I'm so done with this, these Roman creeps, right? With their obelisks and their satanic sculptures and their satanic doctrine, right? Where they're all into necromancy and sun worship and everything else. I mean, seriously, folks, talking to dead people to solve your problems. You pray to Jesus who's alive. You don't talk to dead people, all right? Because they can't help you. Once you're gone, you're gone. You either made it or you're cooking. So they get to hide God by convincing everybody that there is no creator, that everything occurred by an explosion and a series of random events that defy the laws of probability, but nonetheless are accepted as fact. They get to hide the water under the ground because there's an infinite supply of water under the ground, so they can control where we live and how much food we have to eat by controlling how much food we can grow and how much livestock we can raise based on how much water we're allowed to have. They get to hide all the land that they're hiding behind the outer perimeter that they're not telling us about. There are all these continents beyond what is known as the ice wall. And of course, they get to hide the truth. And let me tell you what the truth is, folks. The ultimate truth is all these demonic people that lie to us and kill us and do everything they can to subvert us and make us sick and ruin our children and ruin our families and ruin our food supply and ruin our economy and ruin our culture and ruin our joy and ruin our connection to God and ruin intentionally all these wonderful things that God has planned for us. They're stuck here under the firmament, and the only way out is through the Son of God. And if they reject him, guess what? They get to go downstairs into the oven, okay? And they get to go to the lake of fire where they belong. So, the joke's on them, folks. They're not going to get to go proudly where no man has gone before, like the Star Trek crap, okay? All that new age, heliocentric brainwash, right? Where all the aliens and who was that creepy dude with the funky ears that was supposedly Mr. Brainiac? He was, what was his name? Spocko or something? Spacko? Spockstein, whatever the guy's name was, right? Point is, these guys are screwed, okay? These guys are out of options, and so, they've just been given over to a reprobate mind, and that's why they just continue to do what they do to us, because that's all they got. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Now, when you see the night sky in the absence of the LED lights, when it's just amazing to behold, when you're in a really dark place, and you can see the heavens, and you can see the host of heaven, the angelic beings, those stars are not gas balls, folks. They're alive, okay? The stars are the host of heaven. You've been lied to about everything. I mean, the science is so, it's such, I guess the science is so disgustingly false. And when you think about how stupid everybody is that thinks they're so smart that are part of pushing this crap. And, you know, I got a taste of it, folks, because when I was in college, you know, I walked the halls at UCI for 5 years. And I was around people with PhDs in biology and virology and atmospheric chemistry and polymer chemistry and physical chemistry, nuclear chemistry, and just, you know, all these fields of, and these people were so arrogant. They thought that they were the stuff, right? And they thought they were so smart, and they had this air about them like, oh, yes, well, you know. I mean, I have neighbors like this. They think they're so smart when they're just a bunch of low-level tools working for the school district, right? They have this arrogance about them. They think they're part of something important, and they think that they're really, like, intellectually superior because they've been brainwashed, and their parents actually were able to trauma-based mind control them into these advanced degrees, right? It's really a pity. But the point is the arrogance, right? What do they say? Pride comes before the fall, ladies and gentlemen. You know, these liars that are trying to screw everybody over and ruin everything are going to fall hard, and it's going to be painful. There has always been advanced technologies. There's always been levitation and craft that use levitation. There's always been an upper echelon of society that hides the secret technology from us. And there has always been an agenda to keep the common man down, to keep the common man weak, to keep the common man broke, and to keep the common man struggling so they can keep the common man under their thumb. And let me tell you something, folks. That may work for a while here, for however many years that they're given or we're given to walk the face of this earth. It could range anywhere from 1 day to 120 years. That's about the most anyone's ever going to get out of this place. But it doesn't work once your soul leaves your body. See, the body is as grass. All flesh is as grass, ladies and gentlemen. And there will come a day where you will actually be grass food when they put you in the ground, and you'll decompose, and all of the hydrocarbons stored as adipose cells as fat will become carbon dioxide through decomposition. And, you know, part of your physical body will enter the atmosphere. The other parts of your physical body will remain in the ground and be uptaken by trees and plant life and fixed by microbial things in the soil like these mycorrhizae fungi, and they'll use parts of your skin and bones to fix nitrogen and make plant food. And it goes full circle, folks. All flesh is grass. You will not escape the judgment of God. There is no way to get out of here but through death. And man, you do not want to end up on the wrong side of the equation when it comes time to balance the thing. Okay? That's why it's so simple to just be right with God and just live it clean, right? Finally, my brethren, rejoice in the Lord. Okay? To write the same things to you, to me indeed is not grievous, but for you it is safe. Beware of dogs. Beware of evil workers. Beware of the concision. For we are the circumcision, which worship God in the Spirit and rejoice in Christ Jesus and have no confidence in the flesh. Now, folks, by the way, I'm not going to get into genital mutilation, but don't circumcise your children, folks. It's genital mutilation. Jesus came to put an end to all that crap, okay? You know, he finished the job. He put an end to everything. You know, slaughtering these animals for these sacrifices in that temple, and cutting the balls off the foreskin off the balls off these children. I mean, folks, He put an end to it. And we are to rejoice in the Lord and follow the path that Jesus has shown us and live according to the direction his Spirit gives us. And the direction his Spirit gives us is not looking at these demonic creatures coming out of the pit of hell that are really nothing more than projection and wishful thinking of the deniers of Jesus Christ becoming reality. And they're not. They only exist on the screens. And the spiritual realm is no match for the power of Jesus Christ. It's a joke, okay? It's like the spiritual realm, when confronted with the word Jesus, like Martin Luther said, one little word shall fail him. It's a paper tiger, folks. But, you know, they've got you freaked out by all these lies and all this constant fear from all these screens. And I think what you ought to do is just shut the things off and find yourself a nice incandescent light bulb and sit down and just be quiet and listen to the Lord speak to you as you read the New Testament, okay? Because he will show you all things, and he will show you the error of your ways, and he will show you the truth, okay? And that is how you will be able to walk circumspectly in this life without being deceived and fall into all the traps and into all the pits. Okay? All right. I'm going to cut this, folks, because we're at 36 minutes. I think there's close to 800 of you in here. I want to thank you, and I really appreciate all of your prayers and your kind words. You know, I do want you to understand that we have a duty to people who don't know what's going on. We have a duty to people that are deceived. We have a duty to people that are in bondage to sin. We have a duty to people that are suffering because they've fallen into these pits. We've got to grab them and pull them out of these pits, folks. Okay? We got to take away, we've got to unpack the fear, folks. That is what we are called to do. Because the hope that is in us needs to live through us and in others, and it's the light of Jesus Christ that needs to shine. And it's his promises that give us the hope and the confidence and the fact that we can't lose. All right? I want you all to take care. Confirmation that the message has been received. Welcome to the Truman Show, folks. Take control of your circumstances and your environment, and put Jesus at the forefront of everything, because he's all we got. Take care, ladies and gentlemen.